Okay, we're going to do a repair for Francis from Minnesota, and this is on a typical Cuckoo clock, and this one is about 10 inches wide and about 15 inches long. Hands appear to be in good shape. Cuckoo's okay. And we'll be taking this apart. It says Germany. It's a Hubert Herr movement, and we have bellows that need to be replaced, and we'll take a look and see what else needs to be done. Before we break these, we'll take these out. That's a bellow top. There's one lift missing. Need to take off the hands. Boy, that one's tight. Okay. Hinge pivot came off. I'll put that back on. Okay. Oh, been up raking leaves, stirred up a bunch of leaf mold. Let me cough my head off now. Screw out. These bellows are held on with a screw and a brad. A screw to hold it tight, the brad to keep it from rotating. Screw this out. Bellows out. Bellow top is missing from that one. Brad back so the pin doesn't catch my fingers. And these screws loose. Sunday shirt. It's holy. Birdie. Case aside. Okay, now let's see what's going on in here. Now both chains are jammed inside. Movement. Let's see if we can't get these out of there. A lot of rust. A lot of rust on the movement. Man, these are really jammed. Yeah, now let's see if we can get that one out now. There we go. Okay, one chain out. Okay. There we go. Other chain. Alright. Now we need to look for wear. Take a look. Ooh, something else going on in here, because there's something jammed in here. It's very stiff. Huh. That's weird. Hubert Herr, Germany. Something else going on in here, because this is all... Woo! I can't believe this movement is as stiff as it is. It looks like this has been oiled with something. I think these... Yeah. None of these pins that the levers, like the rack here, move on should ever be oiled, and these have obviously been oiled. There's oil on the all over the gathering pallet, so somebody oiled this and didn't know how to oil it. That's why this is so stiff. This should be just free moving, and I have to really force move it. Just all gummed up, but we should still be able to move. Something's very, very, very... let's see what we got going here. Yeah, it's just very gummy. See some wear on the second wheel on the run side. suspension leader off. Okay, get that suspension leader out. Okay, and I think initially what I'm going to do, I'm just going to drop this in the ultrasonic cleaner just to get the gunk off of it. We'll go from there. Okay, before we take this apart, I've had a bunch of questions on what can go wrong with a cuckoo clock, why it doesn't strike, why it doesn't cuckoo, or it cuckoos the wrong hours and what have you. And so I thought I'd point out a couple of things on here that'll tell you how this works and what to look for. This is the front of the clock, and this would be just behind the dial. And this is this business here with all these levers and what have you is what controls how many times the clock cuckoos. And this is referred to as a rack and snail type of counting system for the number of hours or number of times it cuckoos. This is called a rack. This toothed, arched lever here. And what it will do essentially is it gets lifted by this little cam. It's called a gathering pallet. It has a little pin on it, and as this rotates, it lifts this rack until this lever drops underneath right here. When that drops underneath there, then that will stop the cuckoo. So what will end up happening now the next hour is this will be lifted till that rack falls. In this case, it's only going to fall to strike twice, because it's going to be lifted once to this position, and then twice to this position, and it shuts off. Now the amount of teeth that this falls, which controls the number of cuckoos that it calls, is controlled by this little piece of the rack. It's called a rack tail, and it's got a little angled piece on it here that falls onto this, and this is called a snail. And the snail is so called because it's in the shape of a snail shell. And if you look, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 steps on this snail. Depending on the position of that snail, will affect how far this rack tail falls each hour. This rotates with the hour. So right now it's falling on the second step. So this clock should cuckoo twice. And if we let it fall down and then I were to run this, I don't think I can. There we go. Okay, here we go. There's one strike. There's two strikes, and it shuts off. Now what causes that to shut off is that this lever that falls underneath the end of the rack, when that falls underneath the end of the rack, this part of the lever up here can drop in front of a pin on this wheel on the inside of the movement. So we get this action. Let me run it again. When it first sets, that's in ready to go. I get that thing to drop. There we go. And now this is going to run until that falls underneath. That lever on top falls in front of that pin on that wheel, and the action stops. And you see the gathering pallet is what carries it that way. Let me move this snail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put the minute hand back on here. Maybe. Okay. And as I turn this, I got to try to keep pressure on that wheel. Anyway, that should be close to striking. Yeah, that should strike the half hour now. And there it struck one time. And get up to the top and see that snail is turning. Now it's dropped down to the third level, and this time it should strike. This still needs cleaned. Should strike 3 times. Yeah, this is really dirty. I gotta get this cleaned before we can do much else with it. So anyway, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and turn this around several steps. Okay, so now, take this out. Since we're on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th step, this should now strike 6 times. You can see, well, the rack is now behind the snail, so you can't really see it very well. But if we force this to run, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it shuts off. Okay, so that's how the number of strikes is controlled, by how far that rack falls. Where things go wrong with these is when, especially if it's especially dirty, or if people make the mistake of taking this movement out and oiling it wrong, then we run into problems. All of these levers, the places where they move, the little pins are on, little shafts they're on, should never ever be oiled. They should be allowed to fall free. If they're not allowed to fall free, then you're going to have problems. They're going to hang up, and because that oil is going to gum up this movement. This should fall very free. So if you have a cuckoo clock that's not cuckooing the right number of hours, it's likely, one, that this is either so gummed up that the rack can't fall at the distance it's supposed to fall, or that pin on that wheel may be bent, or this lever may be bent in here, or some other one of these things is bent, or the pin on the gathering pallet can be broken, or somebody's taken the movement apart and not put it back in such a way that everything is timed correctly. Or you may have this lever that's bent. The rack tail, the little hook on that rack tail could be bent. So those are all things that will keep a cuckoo clock from cuckooing the proper number of hours. Okay, so we're going to take this apart and clean it. We're going to take all of these pieces off the front, and we're going to remove the Cuckoo's chain things. These can be removed by turning. Oh, we got a little wire in the way. Take these all off. It's not working so good today. Okay, so we take that off, we turn that around, we take that out, take the cuckoo things out. Okay, that will be left. Now what we got to do is take off the little E-clips to take all of this stuff off. Alright, and those little E-clips here and here have to come off so we can get all these pieces off, because there's a washer that's keeping the snail from coming off. We have to take that off before we can get the snail off and get the rest of these off. So I'll take that E-clip off, and usually what I do with those is just take a pair of needle nose pliers and I push those a bit just to unclip them, and then can take the tweezers, and they're pretty tiny. Put that on there. We take this washer off here. You can't get this off unless you take the rack off at exactly the same time, so I'm going to undo the little E-clip on that one too. Most clocks that will come right off. Alright, we got that. Now we can take both of these off at the same time. Maybe. There we go. That's still pretty rusty. Pretty nasty. Anyway, these will slide off. Alright. This is still pretty dirty. Goes in one. Now this is the intermediate wheel. It's part of the motion works. We'll keep the motion works here. Alright, here's the little cams that as the hours pass by, that little cam turns, and that's what does the initial lifting. So if you have a problem with your cuckoo clock not working, you might also have those cams bent or one of these levers bent. That whole lifting process is what starts the, see, when this is lifted, that long lever lifts this lever, and that lifts that little extension out of the way of the pin on that warning wheel, and then it can run. And there's your gathering pallet. There's a slot in it that this lever falls into, and anyway, that's the way it operates. So if I were to operate this now, maybe I can't get it to run. Right now, if it runs without the rack on it, it's only going to run once each time. There's nothing to keep that from falling into the slot on the gathering pallet. And this, now you can see where this falls into the slot on that gathering pallet. If I run this, that would lift it, set the strike. Now it strikes. And it only strikes once because there's no rack to keep that lifted up. That's how that works. Alright, now that we've got the these things off the front, these will come out after we take off the E-clips behind them. See, there's an E-clip in here, E-clip in here, and an E-clip in here, and those have to be taken out as well. Those are a little harder to get to. What I generally use there is a little small screwdriver, and then get behind them. I don't know if I'm picking this up or not, but anyway, if I can see, oh, there's some rust in there, that's why. Yeah, that's pretty rusty. I may have a clip fly here. If I do, I've got more. Yeah, that one's pretty bad. Huh. Pretty bad. If I can twist it. No, it's really frozen on there. we go. Yeah, that one was pretty tight with that E-clip going. Okay, where are we hung up now? Oh, there it comes. It's just rusted. Just rusted. Yeah, see, there's rust on the shaft. So they got that piece out. We gotta get this one out. Well, the E-clip is out of there. They're so tiny. Okay, there's that one. So we should be able to take this out of here now. Yeah. Okay, get that lever out. Okay. Nuts off of here. Ooh, mercy, that's really tight. Okay, well. Boy, they are tight. Okay, there we go. I get the nuts off. The bird perch, get him out of there. There we go. Take the plate off. And there we are. And here is the anchor that allows the escape wheel teeth to be released one at a time. This is called a crutch. And look, we see a little bit of rust on it. A little bit of wear on the pallet, so we'll have to grind out, but it'll be alright. Okay, and on the inside, here's this thing serves a couple of purposes. This keeps the bird out. There's a little lever here that locks this to keep the bird out until such time as the strike shuts off. So anyway, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 wheels. 4 wheels in the run side. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wheels in the strike side. And so we'll take this lever out, and that's going to go with strike. And we'll take the flyer governor out. We'll take the warning wheel out that has a little pin on it. Take out, this one won't come out because it's got the gathering pallet on the other side. Second wheel has the lifts for the Cuckoo. Hello. And the main wheel.
No more word from Bemis?
No,
Okay.
No, not yet.
Thanks, probably. I wonder if maybe they may not have tires in stock either. They may.
Well, he said they had them in stock,
Oh,
so
good.
so they should be okay.
I mean, maybe that's why they start out with them first. Did you eat? Oh, you're filming? Are you filming?
Yeah, that's all right.
Do you want a bagel?
Sure. You want to go somewhere instead and get breakfast? Or?
Okay.
Huh?
Got all day?
Yeah, we do.
Well,
Okay.
I don't have all day. I'm going to Nolan.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's go to breakfast then. Yeah, back from lunch. Got one more little E-clip right here holding that tiny little gear on. Oh, that one fell off. Okay. Let me take that gear off. Ooh, man, somebody oiled that. That is really sticky. Okay. There we go. Yeah, a lot of gunk on that. Yeah, definitely somebody oiled that. This little thing now is what ends up keeping the Cuckoo door open. I think we'll just leave it on too. Okay, these have all been hand cleaned now. Polished. Pivots polished. Everything's nice and clean. Now we can start to evaluate for pivot wear. Just looking at the wear here on the strike side. That second wheel bushing is loose, so we'll do that one. Okay, that bushing is put in, and now if we move the wheel, yeah, nice, snug, got good end shake. Okay, that's good. Bushing done. Now we'll check the run side. Okay, gears back in place. Ready to put the top plate on. Or actually, this is the back plate. Okay, here's the function of this rack and snail again without the snail on. You can see this is at in the lock position. And we have this lever in the notch of the gathering pallet, which allows this part of the lever to be underneath the end of the rack. Alright, there are two lifts here. One is slightly shorter than the other. One will cause it to strike the half hour and one will cause it to strike the hour. So if we were to turn this, you'll see first this starts to lift and the, oops, there we go, goes into warning. This is the half hour strike, and that's how it works. Alright, we can trip the hour strike then. Real hard to see here. This falls all the way down now simply because there's no snail to stop it. Okay, when reassembling these Cuckoo clocks, it's important now that when you set this snail, that when everything is in the lock position, in other words the pin on the warning lever or warning wheel is up against that lever as it is right now, and this lever is underneath the rack that when we actuate this, when we turn to the hour, that this rack tail falls nicely into the middle of one of the steps on the snail. And we'll do that by turning minute hand. We gotta bring it up to the hour, and right there it is. You see where the tail is falling on a step. You just don't want that falling on the edge. You want the end of that thing to be somewhere in the that end to be somewhere in the middle of a step. Otherwise, you'll get things hanging up, or you'll get things not calling the right hour. And the way we put these things back in is, this is the lift, and the one that's the longest goes on the bottom. Line up those pins with that slot. It's hard to video this. Line up the pins with the slot till that slides in, and then over the top. And oh, missed the slot. Alright, here we go. Over the top. Okay, now that one's in position. Let me take the short one and put it in here. And put it up on the other side. Roll it over. And that one's in position. This one is bent way out of whack. We'll bend that back. And then the hammer goes in last. Test running, looks good. It's run overnight. Okay, we have to address the bellows. Well, anyway, the top to this one was missing the top piece. So what I did was I just took the one from the left, and I made a duplicate copy from just a scrap piece of wood. We'll put that together. We'll make a bellow out of that. And the other one we will redo. Now these are originally leather, very thin leather, which is all rotten. So I've got some leather. I'm going to replace these with original leather tops. We need to make a pattern for the leather that I'm going to cut to put these bellows together, so that they go like this. Okay, here is a commercial bellows with a paper on it that's the same size as that bellows, and when it's opened up, you can see there has to be an overlap on the edges of the wood, and that total amount is about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to write that down here as the width at 1.5 inches. Just made some intersecting lines, so 3/4 on each side. That's 1.5 inches. That's 1.5 inches. So there's our width. 1.5 inches is this way. So we go here, here, 3/4. This actual distance across here is we got 1.25 inches. So going from the center, we're going to go 5/8 each way, 5/8, and then the total depth on each side is this length, which is 2 1/4. Plus we want to be able to wrap it around the back a little bit. So we're going to go, that's 2 1/4. Let's go 2 1/2. All right, each end of the piece is going to have to be 2 1/4. Plus we need an overlap of about 1/4, so we'll go 2 1/2. So 2 1/2 from here. There's a point out there, and 2 1/2 from here gives us a point out here. And then what I'm going to do anyway, draw these out there. Okay, and now we'll cut out a piece of, this is our template. Here's the front of the bellows, this square, and these are the tails that go out, and we'll cut out a piece of leather that size and that shape, and that will cover what we need to cover. Use a piece of paper to trace those onto this thin leather and to cut those. You know, maybe scissors would be better. I'll cut those out with a pair of scissors. Okay, and we get the other one to do. We'll take a little bit of glue again along the back. And then we will take, that's not it. Yeah, that's it. I'll take a little bit of leather, glue it on there. Seal it good. Okay. Let me take that new piece. I'm just probably going to take a little more glue because the wood is raw and never been glued before, so we'll put some on there. Let the glue soak in. Okay, and we're going to take this, set it here, and we're just going to glue that, and we will let that set for a while, and we'll come back and we'll put the other pieces on. Okay, so that's going to end up giving us a little hinge, and we'll be done. And glue this on the top. Well, maybe we'll glue it on the top. Okay, let those dry. Glue on this edge. this edge. Okay. Open it up. Pull this back. Move it down on both edges. And turn it over. Do the other edge. Put it on the edge. Pull these back. Okay, let that dry. Okay, and we'll clamp that shut and crease that. To crease that. And we'll let that sit a while. Okay, I cut a little brass weight, put in the holes, so that now when okay, a little brass weight. Now we're going to get some paper. This paper is the original. Looks like black granite with blue veins. So I found a picture on the internet of black granite with blue veins, and I'm going to cut some small pieces out to cover the tops and make those look like original. Okay, this is going to go on here. Just glue it to the top. Bit of glue and water mixed up here. And we'll just take this, put it right on here. Like so. And then we'll do a little snipping. Scissors here. Okay. Then we can go along here. Okay, and that gives it kind of the look of the original. Yeah, the real final touch in this is to make sure that the hand releases and starts to strike at exactly the hour and half hour. And the hole that was in this hand was, it's a square hole, was very, very worn. So what I did was, using a step drill, I drilled out the square hole round to a size of about 8 millimeters, and then on the lathe used some round brass stock to cut a piece of brass first that would fit the hole to a real tight, snug friction fit, and cut the diameter just to fit the hole, and the other side is diameter that overlaps the hole. So we have this nice brass piece. Then I drilled a hole in it on the lathe, a round hole that was the distance across the square on the hand shaft, and then used a fine file to square it off until it exactly fit. Then what I did was put this back onto the clock like so, and turned the hand until it exactly tripped, and that was at a point about 3 or 4 minutes past the hour. And then rotate that inserted brass piece, it's real tight, rotated it until it made the hour hand exactly at 12 when the movement tripped the hour. And now what I'll do is I'm going to place some small drops of super glue underneath the edge so that glues it permanently in place, and the hand won't slip anymore and will be nice and accurate when it trips the hour. But just turning that little brass piece, it's very thin, one diameter there, a step down to fit in the hole, and that makes it so that when I put that hand onto it, it's good and tight and it's not going to slip around. People have asked, how do you put the chains in? Well, the wheel turns this way to wind. It goes in this way to wind. You know, then the weight's going to pull this way, so we got to pull the chain in from this side. Find an end, turn it upside down, thread it on the chain, and then manually turn it until the chain comes through the other side, making sure it doesn't fall off. There we go. Okay, same thing over here. Gotta go on this way. Okay. Now to get them ready to put in the case, what I do is I pull them till they're about about even. Another thing that I do with most of the clocks, Cuckoo clocks, is when I'm putting the ends back on, I know a hook has to go on here. If I just simply put a hook on here and somebody pulls this all the way up, then the hook's going to be clear up at the hole. And it can make it real tough to get the weights off if somebody needs to get them off for one reason or another. So what I do is I usually take about half a dozen links, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th link. And what I'll do is I'll open that up. There we go. Okay. Anyway, take a link out. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put an extra loop in here. And when I put that loop in there, it's on the hook end. And then I take the other end and I didn't get that closed. Okay. Okay. Closed. And put another link here. And close that loop. Okay. And now what I've got is I've got a loop. Got a loop, a small length of chain. And now when I put the hook on, now when the hook is on, even if I pull that all the way up, it's going to stop here. Let a little bit of the chain hang down so it makes it easier to get the weight on or off in case it gets pulled all the way to the top.